Good evening, traders. It is late. It is the 28th of May, just around about 20 past 9 in the evening, and I have decided to do a bit of a quick review of the condition of the market at the moment and potential trading opportunities that we are looking at seeing if they set up, and kind of getting a sense of which way we should be trading the markets this week. So I'm just very briefly having a look at the S&P 500. I'm going to cover some of the stocks quickly, so I'm just going to have a look at the weekly. And on the weekly chart, we are seeing an uptrend. We are getting higher lows and higher highs. It is worth noting that this has pulled back and broken the previous support level, so that leaves it to come down at least to the next support level, which is probably down here. So we're still looking at a bit of a move downwards. So that's relatively bearish at this point. It does appear to be doing a bit of a pullback. So this week is quite a tricky one, just in terms of how far these items are going to pull back. So if we just switch on our moving averages, let's quickly add these in. Let's just put the moving averages in, have a look at prices likely to do a bit of a pullback. Let's have a look. I wouldn't think it's going to go too far, probably up to about the 1350 level. 1350, yeah, probably. Bounce off the 20 EMA before continuing downwards. So that's relatively bearish at the moment, and got to come down to the next serious support level, which is down here. The FTSE, very, very, very bearish. Just broken the previous low. This is quite a big one. Let's just have a look here. So there is a range that we're working at. The next big low is down here, and on the weekly chart, we can see that it's quite impactful, quite important. So there's, I would say at this point, also quite bearish on that. I think we can safely expect this to work its way down to 550, that area there. So even though, remember guys, that it is doing its phase 1 and phase 2, so it will be working its way up and down on the way down. Again, it's pulled back to the 10-day moving average. Very interesting to see. We have some rejection candles. So this may in fact see a failure. I would say that if we break the lows at this level, certainly if we break 5255 for example, I would short it. Look for short positions down towards this previous low, and at this point, yep, we have a relatively strong downtrend. Just having a quick look at the Dow Jones, same thing, broken the previous low in a downtrend, pulling back to the 10-day moving average, potentially even higher again. Also, if we are to go higher up, it will pull back as far as the 20-day moving average, but they are looking particularly bearish on the weekly chart. Still potentially in an uptrend, sitting on the 15 moving average, but at this point we have to see what the daily decides to do. Nasdaq, pull back a lot, broken the previous low, again coming down to sitting, just bounced off support here, also looking quite bearish. We'll have to see what this does. Next key level, let's have a look here. Next key support level, probably closer to 2400, 2410, and also around about the 50 moving average. That'll be interesting to see what happens there. Yep. So we've still got room to go on that. Russell 2000, we have a lower high, also quite bearish. Yeah. Sitting around the 750 level. Also want to see what happens here, but again, I'm quite bearish. So we're just having this bounce is quite prevalent on every single one of the indices that we're looking at, and now we just want to kind of see it come through. If it breaks the lows of all the previous indices, then we have a good idea of where everything's going to go. So then jumping across to the dollar index, you can see that we've broken the previous high. Looking on the weekly chart, this is quite significant. We've broken these levels. So the next key level for it to hit up to is probably 83.50. And then let's have a look here. So this is, yeah, we haven't had a pullback quite yet, and it is looking very bullish. But that's quite a way to go. So that's looking good. Of course, what this is going to do, for those of you who aren't familiar with this is going to push the euro probably cable a bit further down. We haven't had a pullback for a while, so this could carry on. Alternatively, it could kind of pull back before carrying on up. It's quite interesting to see what's going to happen with this. This candle, this is just today, so this is Monday's candle. Doesn't really give us much to work with, but at this point it's still a high low and a high high, so I would say this is bullish at this point. Normally I would be worried this would be a bit of a failure candle, but actually I'm thinking the higher lows and the high highs, we're still quite bullish on this. And so what we could do is we could just put in a trend line. Let's go and let me just edit that. Typically my settings would be different, so we have a bit of a trend line, that's right. And if I think that if price action breaks that, then we have a problem, but actually up until then we're fine. So even if price pulled back, we should be good. Comes back to the 10 moving average, probably back to here if it's going to do it, before going long again all the way up. So we've got lots of room to run. And checking the euro, same kind of thing. We broke the recent low, and looking at the weekly chart, kind of got a bit of a key level here that we broke through. But we have this is something that I was looking at. We have multiple touches here, so we have another level with a lot of noise that we've discovered in the past. It's touched here, it's touched here, it's touched here. So we do at this point we have two levels that are quite close to each other. But certainly once we break through that, we've got a nice big run down to this level. So that's something to look forward to, at least giving us a sense of direction as to which way we can go. It's pretty clear, it's looking really good. So we just want to watch how the euro, if we can get it to close below the lows, below this level, sort of 1250 or 12500. That'd be nice to see it and then have a close there. And we're looking really, really close on that. We do appear to be forming a bit of a rejection candle here, so that'll be quite nice to see price move down, close below that. And that may actually happen this week. And if that does, we should see some nice income generators setting up. If we jump across here quickly to have a look at the euro, that it does say that tonight, and I'm going to cover income generator shortly, that it does look as though there's potentially an income generator setting up tonight, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens here. I think I might do this as an alert for tomorrow. It's just something to watch. We do have to break through this level, so guys, be prepared for that. That is something we have to see if it bounces again, or obviously if the US dollar pulls back, then it'll affect the euro. It'll pull the euro back as well. However, we are so close to breaking through this level. If this happens tomorrow, if we break below that, I'm inclined to think the dollar will carry on moving and the euro will carry on moving. So that's something to watch out for. And one of the ways around that would be to set an alert. Set an alert for let's say 12490, 95 even. Set that value, apply it to all, and just say euro broken key level. Trade short, so you already, just in case you forget which way to go, and put that there, and then there's an alert that'll pop up no matter what you're doing at the time. So also pop across, quickly check cable. Cable's sitting on a bit of a level here. As we know, on the daily, cable is slightly more bullish than euro, but we still have this level to watch out for. So I think once cable breaks that level, and I'm pretty sure it is, and my assessment of that is that, look, price has just did a real bullish breakaway from euro, and then it reversed all of that, lost all of those gains that are made, and pulled all the way back, broke it, and moved all the way back down. So at this point, I have to say I'm relatively bearish on this. I'd be surprised to see it bounce, but we'll keep watching it. But the whole story that's developed here is very bearish. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I'm waiting for it to break this level, and to go short. And if it does end up reversing and climbing, then I guess then that's just typically cable just doing crazy stuff. But yeah, so let's see what happens. This whole thing told me a bit of a collapse, so we'll have to see which way it goes. And guys, just as a general rule, please don't listen to the news. Just trade what the charts are doing. You're going to continue to lose money until you can disconnect, trying to make sense from the news and trying to correlate that with your trading. It's much better to find an explanation after a movement in the charts rather than trying to predict a movement in the charts and trying to tie it up with the news. It's just suicide to do that, and so many people just don't seem to learn. Right, then let's have a look here quickly. Quick one at silver. We've got a bit of a support level here. Let's see what happens with that. We've got to work on that. We do have a series of low highs and low lows. We do have a higher low here, so that is something to watch out for. We might see a bit of a pullback on that. And if we do, we can expect it to probably come up to this level here, which is where we are. So let's see if it breaks through that, and then we can start to look for longs, break the previous high, and start to look for longs up to the next level, which is approximately here. So there's potentially once we break up above the previous high, potentially levels to take long on silver. Gold ranging, potentially the same thing. I would be very careful about trading it until you get it confirmed that it breaks this high. Yep, that's it. So looking to see what we get. We have a high low here. We could have a nice reversal. We might find that price is ranging from here into this area. So yeah, I would say if it breaks at the next level, you can kind of pay attention to is to see how price goes up here. So there'll be some nice long trades for gold as well. Oil, very similar. Obviously, it's got a relationship with the US dollar. It's broken all the previous lows, and it's sitting on I would call this a significant level. There we go. So once we break through that, we've got quite a way to go before we get to our next key level. So that's quite interesting to see oil drop down. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of a move. We've got lots of little things in the way, potentially down to here if you really want to be careful. So there'd be some selling of oil. That's quite interesting to see that head down. Next, let's hop across to have a very quick look at the power plays. So I've switched off this exceeds 25-day average volume just to see what happens. We're going to look for longs, and there's nothing that shows up. And we're going to look for shorts, and let's just see what crops up on this one, to see what the condition is of these scans. Now, nothing at this point. I'm just finding this whole thing way too choppy, and I hope you do too. And there's a sideways motion on the weekly, and then it kind of moved up and it went sideways over here, and it hasn't broken these levels here, so I'm going to pass on that one. Again, way too choppy, guys. There's just no consistent trend, and it's a very new stock. Walk away from this. You can't trade that successfully as a beginner trader, and you wouldn't even trade it as a pro trader anyway. This one, ranging, crazy. You can't trade that. Pearson, let's have a look. Nice upward trend. So, and also just ranging here, and I mean, this is just a war zone. So at this point, there's nothing you can take here. You don't have enough of a nice, decent trend downwards. This is just crazy. So at this point in time, right now, we've just got, we're getting shredded, so you can't really take any of those particular ones that have come up tonight. And this one, there's a bit of a problem here. This is broken, and now it's actually in an uptrend. So you really have to be a bit careful about that. I mean, it's not impossible that you could see a break to head down from here. That could happen. But the thing is that it has lots of levels to work its way through. It's not a great risk-reward setup. So I am a bit wary of this, but that's something to look at. Of the whole lot that I've seen, this is the one that doesn't offer a clean setup, but it is interesting in terms of this downward trend. But I don't see any trades on this. Let's hop across to the income generators. Let's just go through this. So the euro is quite good, and of course we've looked at our weekly support resistance levels. we've just formed a new low, and it looks like we're rejecting that level. So if we do move down, we've got a nice long run down to the next key level. If we break through that through this hairy area here, which is a bit funny, just probably there. So once we break through that, we should have some nice income generators. So this level is quite good. I would just be very careful. I would just 12450 potentially take. Let's see what we've got here, which is 12450, which is approximately here. So this is going to be quite interesting. What could happen is, it could break tomorrow and then bounce around for a few days. So it's going to be. I really want to see where it is in the morning, and so just be aware of that. That potentially, if you want to trade this, put 0.5% on that, because we need to see what happens before it breaks this level. It's really got to break that level, and then we'll see some serious moves. But certainly setups on the euro are looking good to go short. Remember guys, the rules of my income generators: nice, relatively even sized bars, and a nice trend. Don't go sideways. This is just crazy stuff. Cable, we'll go through it quickly. We have to see how these bars close again tomorrow. Again, also potentially a setup. A lot of this is pointing to a US dollar move, and also we have that same level issue here, guys. So just be aware of that. Certainly, if you're going to pick one of these, if you're going to do one of the euro or cable, just pick one. Don't go with both, because you're going to be doubling up your risk. This one, nice trend upwards, but no setup. So we move on. The yen. Let's have a look here. The yen is doing something really interesting. There's quite a battle going on here. I believe to some degree there's some stealth intervention, just because price action is behaving really funny. There's just a big breakdown, and then suddenly it recovers, and then it fails again, and now it's trying to recover. So there's a lot going on here. If you have entered one of these, I would say that if you are in profit, you should close out until price breaks this level. And we always have that threat of intervention, so we have to be careful about that. Aussie dollar, let's have a look. Not bad. It hasn't broken the previous high. We have still got some room to run. We do know that if the US dollar is going to make a move, it's going to push the Aussie and Kiwi down as well. And gold is potentially going to do a long move. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens between the two. I would say, yeah, but you haven't got much room to run either, so you'd have to be careful about that. So just be aware of that. Let's have a look at that again tomorrow morning. Same thing with Kiwi. CAD is actually looking. This is interesting. It's hit a resistance level on the weekly, so that is part of the. It's still got to get past the 200 moving average, but very interesting to see that it has started trending, guys. The markets are looking amazing. This is the kind of market that we have had for the last year, and to see things starting to trend. If nobody's pointed this out to you, you should be alerted to it, that we are starting to see trends occur that we haven't seen in a long time. Look at the weekly, just look at this mess over here, look at this mess over here, and it looks like we're starting to see some trends occur. So we might find that we're in a really good time in the market. This is very interesting. I would say if we start getting, this was an income generator call that I made last week that's looking good. If no one got stopped out on Friday, which is Friday's one, if they were still in, if they forgot to move their stop, they are looking good. I would say we would just see how this goes. We'll just let it run for a bit and update our stop. Alternatively, if you were stopped out, you would have been stopped out with profits because you would have had your stop below the entry. And we can just wait for another setup. Just wait for another setup and then take it short. Euro Swissy, of course, you cannot trade because of that intervention. So you have to walk away from this. Euro Yen. Euro Yen, again, we have to watch out for Japanese intervention, and you can see it sitting on a level here as well. Seems to be pretty tight and tidy, so we might as well move on, not get too attached to that. Interesting. Interesting. We have a very bearish move down here. Very bearish. Broken all these lows, all the previous bars lows. So what I would do is be very cautious about this. We've passed right through our 50 moving average. We are actually at this point, I would say that whatever setups we have here are done. So we'll have to see. We should actually be looking to go short, I think, potentially. We have to walk away from this. The weekly Let's see what happens with the weekly. I think we've broken this uptrend, and we have to see what happens when price gets down to this level here. If it breaks that level, we should be looking to go short all the way down to this level. So we have potentially some great shorts setting up on this pair. Let's have a look here. I should just be going straight to the pairs, but I haven't had a look. I'm showing you guys how we scan them. Same thing here, very bearish. Broken through, going to move down to the 50 moving average, and then we'll see what happens there. So that's Euro Kiwi. Euro CAD. Too choppy. You're going to walk away from this. You can't trade that. Pound Swissy. Pound Swissy is doing the inverse of Euro Cable. Quite interesting. It's hit a bit of a level there, but it is looking like it wants to try and break through that. So let's see what happens. Same thing. If you weren't stopped out, you can keep going, and of course, if you were stopped out, we'll just wait for another opportunity to enter into this move. Pound yen. Let's see if we've got something different on pound yen. Pound yen is still bearish, so it's fighting a level here, as are all the other yen pairs, but it's much more bearish than the rest of them. So our secret here is to just see if we get our trend line broken, and I would say that if that happens, if we get that broken somewhere approximately there, we're done. So we'll just see what happens with price at this level, but you can't trade anything there. We have officially broken the previous low, so there's nothing you can do at this point. We have to see what happens. Price action, if it closes below the 20, it's probably going to move on down to the 50 before we can take the next level. Before we can start looking at taking the next set of trades. So unfortunately, there appears to be no real opportunities here. As I said, price has broken through and is on support here, so I'd like to see what happens if it does turn around and then become potentially be interesting to see where this closes tomorrow. Based on what I see on the weekly, this is a breakthrough, come back onto support, and it might then move on up to this level, so we might indeed get some longs. My only concern is it hasn't really it doesn't appear to be bouncing off anything other than supports, and it normally likes to combine a support with a moving average. So let's have a look and see, but the weekly is still looking bullish, and we haven't broken that trend. I'm going to sit this one out until I see price break that high, and it has broken this low, so I'm going to sit this one out, and this is a whole messy story here, which indicates the fact that it's had this huge battle and has broken this previous low means potentially the market is looking at going bearish. So I'm going to sit this one out. Pound Kiwi, has also broken these lows, so we'll have to see if it breaks that low. Still sitting on the 20 moving average, keep an eye on that. Pound CAD, too choppy. You can't trade this, guys and girls. Bars are just all over the place. Walk away. Aussie Kiwi. Interesting to see that it's attempting to form a trend on the way up. It's almost like its downtrend is much neater than its uptrend. This is really choppy. I think that there is potential here. You need a wider stop when you're trading choppier bars. So your rules are 100% below the low of the bar. 100 pips, and I do 10 pips. I would say on this you need to be looking somewhere between the 10 pips and 100 pips. You need more than my usual 10 pips on this. You'd have to be very cautious about that. But it was such a bullish bar here, and then of course followed by a bearish candle. So we probably have a pullback occurring. I would pass on this for now anyway, but just something that I'll keep coming back to see how that develops. Aussie Swissy, choppy, choppy, choppy. I think though it's going to attempt to form a trend. Looks as though it's going to try to break this previous high and take a run up there, so we could get a nice trend occurring if that happens. It looks like everything's taking its cue from the US dollar that's starting to actually break and go bullish. So we might find that some wherever there was caution is starting to work its way up now. This is really interesting, a nice pretty downtrend. This is potentially a setup. We'll have to have a look. I need to check if it's bouncing off the 10-day moving average. So let's go and see if this is working off that 10-day moving average. Do I have it? Yes, I do. Oh, what do you know? There it is. touching the 10-day moving average. This might be a setup, so we'll just make a note here. Again, it's wanting to go short, but I am worried about the yen, so we'll just put a little note here, IG short. Aussie CAD. It's just a little too choppy, guys. You want successful income generators, you need a nice clean trend. So as soon as you start seeing a lot of the alerts over here, yeah, potentially it's too choppy, and you should always be looking for that turning candle. So as soon as you get one on, say, the first candle, you should wait a bit. It's better, obviously, if it moves to that side of the envelope, and even better if it's bouncing off a moving average. Kiwi Swissy. Look, working its way along. So quite interesting to see this setup. And quite interesting to see this setup occurring. So this is looking, again, we're seeing a lot of things that are potentially reversing. They did quite a bit of a move, and then they look like they're potentially reversing. So we'll just keep watching this. I know it's a bit frustrating if you're wanting to take trades at the moment, but I'm seeing a change in the market that is a good change, as opposed to the market going choppier. We're actually seeing it forming trends and trying to find a direction, and that's a good thing, because you know, predominantly junior traders will be trend traders. So we're looking for these types of things. This is great. Kiwi yen, similar to Aussie yen, everything is sitting at those, all the yen pairs sitting at those levels. You've got to be careful about that. I see there was an income generator on Kiwi CAD to go short. It is a good looking setup. It is bouncing off the 20 moving average. I would be careful. I would potentially say to the target here 76.65. 76.65. Yeah. It's very yeah. You can go for that if you want to follow the setup here. I would, if you want to do that, I would take, you know, potentially half the profit off the. Look, I mean, to be honest, with that, certainly I would put my stop closer, because we had a relatively strong move here. Maybe 20, 30 pips away. I don't know if the 100 pips is necessary. Put my entry at least 10 pips below the low. If it reverses and triggers me, and take your profit at that level, at least you're getting a 1-to-1 out of it. Alternatively, I would put mine closer to the low over here, 76.56, 76.60, not bad. And then at this point, you know, the other thing is we have broken the previous low on the weekly over there, so we are looking bearish. So we might have a nice big move down, and then there's you know, we've got a bit of room to run. We've just broken under the 200 moving average. So there's you know, there's some interesting things that are happening on that one. Swissy yen. Again, you can see all these nice potential things setting up. Not bad. What's nice about Swiss pairs is often as the Swiss ticks over, most of those trends, most of those pairs, the crosses are nice and calm, which is obviously what you want. This you can't trade. Before it even comes up, you should be able to look at the candles and the bars and just walk away. It's just going to abuse you, man. It's just going to take your money. It's like a bully. So you don't want that. You don't really want this bars of different sizes and suddenly big and small and big. You want relatively consistent sizes, and then occasionally a nice small inside bar, and that kind of thing works really well. Not bad, but just, again, a bit of a worry. Something happened here. We suddenly have a collapse, then we have a big bar, and then buy, and then a little rejection candle, another rejection. It's just there's a mess going on here. So if you're not in these trades, sit them out. And this is Singapore dollar, and then we'll just look at Swedish krona. Very interesting. Swedish krona, similar to the US dollar, broken to new highs. There is a correlation with the US dollar, so just be aware of that. But looking relatively bullish. If, of course, the US dollar goes long, so will this. And yeah, broken new high, potentially come back down, testing quite a strong resistance. I would expect it to come back and test support. So nothing, I would say, walk away from Swedish krona at this point. We need to see it break this low or break this high, then confirm. If it's going to break the low, it's going to come back down to this level over here. Approximately, and of course if it breaks the high, it's then obviously going to carry on. So either way, you don't know if it's going to be this bar. You need to sit this one out. And really that is it. I'm sorry it's such a long, lengthy one, but I thought it would be quite good because it serves both of my TU and my traders and my stock traders and my currency trader delegates, just to show you the kind of end of day opportunities that are there. So there's very little stock stuff today. and we can kind of understand why. We've looked at the market, but there are opportunities setting up, I would say, this week. As I say to all my delegates in the coaching sessions, try to think of making money per week as opposed to every day, because opportunities this week might occur on Wednesday or Thursday and not necessarily a certain amount on Monday, a certain amount on Tuesday, and a certain amount on Wednesday. But definitely every week there are opportunities setting up. And you can see that the opportunities setting up on the stocks as well as on the currencies. And there are a couple of, I may send out a few alerts on the income generators tomorrow. And that's it. So just wanted to say, yeah, happy trading. Get in touch with me for your coaching. I'm keeping the slots relatively tight for people. I had a lot of people make bookings and then not even show up, which is the first time I've ever had that. And that's obviously a response to me saying I'm cutting my time down. And so people have just booked stuff, which just wastes my time. And it just wastes your precious coaching sessions. So please be aware that, you know, and there are plenty of people who legitimately have to cancel, but there are a few people who haven't even contacted me to let me know that they're canceling. So just, you know, just keep in mind that I take our sessions very seriously, and I try to develop a personal plan for each of you. So I would appreciate it if you can obviously make them as often as you can, and of course if you can't and you let me know, that's absolutely fine. It's just that, you know, don't book out of panic. Rather just book a session with me because you know you can make it. If you panicking, just send me an email and say, listen, I'm worried about not making a session, but can I book something with you next week, and then I'll arrange the time. So just let's rather do it that way then, instead of just booking and occupying a space that other people could actually legitimately take up. Otherwise, that's it. That's my rant for the evening. Have a good week. Really, guys, there's some good money out of everything I've looked at. There's easily 3 to 5% to be made out of any of those trades. There really are, and that's just the end of day stuff. Right. Have a good evening.